Thank you everybody for coming tonight. This is a political forum sponsored by MAEDA, which is the Marshall Area Economic Development Alliance. I'm suspecting we're going to get a few more people when the county and state candidates show up, but I do want to thank everybody for being here tonight that's come to see the local candidates. We are going to have a format, and actually Jerry Johnson is going to be moderating, so I'm going to turn this over to him in just a second. But I do want to thank everybody for being here tonight. And again, this is sponsored by MAEDA, and MAEDA was actually formed in 2012, and it took the place of the chamber, and it's basically doing economic development and chamber services for the city of Marshall and for the Marshall area. So we've done a lot of good work in the last couple of years, and I do want to, again, Jane Reed is here tonight, and she's going to be doing the flag, and Scott Fleming is here somewhere as the CEO of MAEDA. Maybe he's outside. He's ushering, talking to people. So the format's going to be, we're going to hear from the local candidates first. Everybody's going to be allowed 3 minutes to speak, and then after we've gone through the lineup, we're then going to go move everybody out into the cafeteria. We'll have an opportunity to ask people questions directly. And I would ask you, and I'll remind you again, probably Jerry will remind everybody again also, at the end of this time, please move out so we don't have people milling around in here, because we're going to try to get the next group set up with the county and state and judicial candidates. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Jerry Johnson, who works at the ISD, and Jerry actually was a local native that when Becky Rocco passed away last year unexpectedly, the opportunity arose for him to return back to his home. Originally a Teconcha native, now is, I'm glad to say, is living in Marshall. So we're glad to have him back in the area, and we're glad to have him at the Calhoun Intermediate School District. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jerry, and we'll get started.
Thank you, Richard. Good evening, everyone. It really is a privilege for me to be here with you this evening, and I want to thank you, the audience, and thank you, the candidates, for taking the time to be here this evening so that we have time to share information and learn more about the individuals seeking office in the upcoming November election. This is not a debate. This is not a question and answer session. The format for this evening will be as follows. I will call the name of a candidate. He or she will stand and take the podium. Each candidate will have 3 minutes to speak. At 2.5 minutes, there will be a yellow flag, and I will stand. I'm telling you that so I don't freak you out standing up behind you. This should signal that your time is nearly up and you should wrap up your comments. At 3 minutes, a red flag will be displayed and I will take the podium. I'll introduce the next candidate and we'll repeat the rotation. Are there any questions of the candidates? Okay, so let's begin. And the first group of folks that are here this evening are candidates for the school board, for city council, and a candidate for mayor. So let us begin. The list begins with Carrie Nicholson for school board.
Hi, I'm Carrie Nicholson. I went to school at Albion College. That's when I first came to the area, and then I went on to medical school at University of Michigan. I did my residency there in family medicine, and then just 3 years ago I came back to the area, and I now practice at the Albion and Marshall Medical Associates. I do have a kindergartner and a 7th grader in the system, and then I have a special needs daughter who goes to school in Battle Creek. So I have interest in education. I volunteered a lot in the schools in both my older son's classroom as well as when we were in Clare and then the Albion schools. And I would like to work as a school board member to help make the school system a better place. We've had a lot of changes with it, and with change, sometimes there can be some difficulties. If anybody has any questions, I would be happy to talk to you about Albion, about Marshall, about the changes, how I've seen them with my middle schooler, with the adjustments, with kindergarten, really with anything. I would value your feedback, value your information with it, and I'll be happy to serve you on the school board come January.
The next individual is Christine McComb, School Board.
Good evening. I'm Christine McComb. I am running for school board. I was appointed in October of 2015 to the school board when Dan Stolberg retired, and I ran for a year on his term. And now, with that, the term is now up for appointment or up for election. I have decided to take the 6-year term instead of the remaining 2 years on that term. I am running unopposed, so I won't take a lot of your time, but I would like to thank you for having me, and thank you for your support with the school board.
Next is Shauna Gamble.
Hello, my name is Shauna Gamble. I live in Albion. I have 5 kids, one of which was in the last class that graduated from Albion, and one was in the first class that came over to Marshall High School with the cooperative agreement. I've been married for 11 years. I went to Albion up until 8th grade, and then I went to high school in Homer, so I have a lot of really unique perspectives. I went to Albion College. I graduated with a degree in political science, and I am currently an analyst with the state of Michigan. I want to be on the school board just because I love kids, and I want to be a part of making their experience the best that it can be. I think that I have so many unique experiences and a really different perspective. And I also understand that as people, even though you don't always agree, if you have the fundamental vision that at the end of the day it's all about the kids, that you can make anything great happen. And I just would love to be a part of that. I think that I can bridge some gaps that we've seen between the two communities. With it being so new, I think we have a lot of amazing opportunities to do a lot of great things together, and I just would like to be a part of that. I will also be available in the cafeteria to answer any questions that you may have of me, but thank you for your time.
George Seifert, School Board.
Hello, and again, thank you for coming to this forum. My name is George Seifert. I came to this community in 1999. I am a family physician at Oak Lawn Medical Group. I brought 2 kids through this school system. Both of them graduated from Marshall High School. Both were participants in sports and music programs, and I then had the opportunity to assist in those programs as a parent. I then became more involved in the school system when I was the chair for the Community Committee in support of the 2010 bond. That was a $33 million bond that led to capital improvements throughout the school system and actually built this auditorium. It was a very successful effort. And at that point, I decided that I wanted to join the school board in part to help with the implementation of the bond funds. And so I ran for school board in 2010, soon after the success of the bond proposal, and I've been on since then. One question people may have is that's a 6-year period, and I put some of this in the bio. I do have a bio if you want to read more about me. But the state of Michigan passed a law to try to decrease costs, and we therefore were forced on the school board to decide whether to stay with 4-year terms or go to 6-year terms. If we stayed with 4-year terms, we were going to have a lot of turnover and have 4 people up for election at one time. And I personally thought that we would lose institutional memory if we did that. And therefore we ended up with 6-year terms, which is a long time. But I think the people that are attracted to this will do it nevertheless. So we implemented the bond. One thing I would say about our implementation of the bond, since I have an opportunity, is one thing we're really proud of on the school board is that we were able to get all of this done in less time than we had planned on, in fact, and under budget. And as a result, we were able to refinance the bond notes, and that saved the taxpayers $4.2 million. The other thing I want to say, because my time is about up, is that I was with the school board during the whole annexation project, which I was in support of. I think it was a good thing for Albion, and I think the alternatives were less good. And part of the reason I'm running for this 2-year term now is to help facilitate the rest of the implementation of that annexation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Next is Jack Reed for the office of mayor.
Hello, and thank you for inviting me this evening. I'm Jack Reed, mayor of the great city of Marshall. I've been on city council for 5.5 years, serving the last 2 years as mayor. My wife Lisa and I have raised our 2 children here in the city of Marshall for 24 years. We now have 4 generations of our family living here in Marshall. I'm very proud of the work that the City Council has accomplished during the time that I've sat on the team. We are focused on what the community tells us. We work together to get all the answers before making any decisions, and although we don't always agree on everything together, we respect one another for our opinions. The team works well and accomplishes great things for the goals of our city. We've seen the industrial park grow. We've seen some of these companies expand their current sites and opened maybe even into a second building. We continue to have companies come tour and investigate what inventory we have or what space is available to build. And our downtown continues to have new businesses come to Main Street. Retailers are working together to create a fun atmosphere for our locals and visitors that come downtown to visit. We need to support them and buy local. The collaborations with our law enforcement center and the schools have been better than we could even have imagined. The governor has spoken to all of us about joining together and being a stronger community because of it. We've heard that we need younger community to have our young families want to stay and move here, raise their families. Community parks, more restaurants, fun events for families and evening activities. Ketchum Park, Sherman Park, evening street performers, trails, river rentals, and bike lanes are all on our list. We've even seen an interest in younger individuals joining our committees and city council to make sure that we stay focused on the needs of a younger professional and the families that are wanting to invest in our communities. We currently have 3 individuals sitting on our city council fitting that description, and as you will see tonight, a handful of others asking for your support. This is a wonderful thing to have the future of our city well represented by many generations. I wish to thank you for the years of support and the continued faith that you have in me as your mayor. I wish to serve the people of Marshall and represent this great community to all those that I come in contact with around our state on a daily basis. You are Marshall, a special place for many, and we need to cherish that. In closing, one of the many visitors to our town on home tour weekend that I spoke with told me he loved this town because, and I quote, "This town is so proud of its history, yet so focused on its future." I could not agree more. So I leave you with that this evening, and thank you for inviting me to come.
Next is Robert Costa for City Council, Ward 5.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Robert Costa, and as the gentleman who introduced me said, I'm running for City Council, Ward 5. It's my privilege to be here this evening and speak with you and have the opportunity to meet you afterward, and I'd like to thank MAEDA for all of their hard work putting this event together. I've lived in Marshall for about 8 years now, and though I've primarily grown up in bigger cities most of my life, I found a real place here in this community. Because of my employment at the Marshall United Methodist Church, I've had the pleasure of being a part of various community events such as concerts at Stewart's Landing and the floats on Main Street, just to name a few. This involvement, as well as the people that I've had the privilege to work with, has paved the way for me to call Marshall my home. When they asked all the candidates to come and speak to you this evening, I agreed somewhat trepidatiously. This is my first time running for public office, and I'm still learning what is involved and all that comes with the responsibilities of sitting on city council. I did, however, want to come and reassure those that are voting what I may lack in experience. I plan to make up with hard work and enthusiasm so that I can contribute to the legacy of Marshall. Although I'm new to this political scene, I grew up in a small business owner's home and will apply my observations to that involvement on City Council. I've spoken to many of the people on council and look forward to working with those that are re-elected as well as elected this year. I have attended some of the meetings, and I look forward to serving this community with the best of my abilities. Thank you very much.
Next is Joe Karen for a member-at-large position on City Council.
Good evening. My name is Joe Karen, and I'm running for the at-large seat on the Marshall City Council. And it's good to see some familiar faces here tonight. I was fortunate enough to be elected in 2014 to be a part of the Marshall City Council. Due to the sale of my property, I was unable to complete my term, but have continued to stay involved in the community. With the purchase of my new home in 2015, I'm ready to pick up where I left off. So why do I want to serve on the council, and why will I make the best choice for voters? Marshall is my home. I was raised here, I've stayed here, and invested in my home here. My family has deep roots in the community, and I appreciate Marshall's unique history and traditions. I will bring a strong business orientation to the council. I've helped my parents start 2 businesses and have a managerial position at a local family-owned business where I've learned the best practices for our local economy and marketplace. Time management and technology skills are important today, and I have them. Collaboration and volunteerism are essential, and I've done both. The importance of keeping an open mind to new ideas is an essential element to overall growth. It's important that my generation become involved in our community, and I will continue to be. We owe it to our city to be involved. I am currently working with a group of peers to develop a young professionals committee that will help us discover what millennials are looking for in a place to live, and to help enact some of those changes locally to attract talent and a new generation of leadership. To address our community's challenges, we need energy, fresh ideas, and new perspectives on the council, and I will bring them. I have the stamina, I'm eager to serve, and I ask for your vote on November 8th. Thank you.
Next, also for City Council member-at-large, John Gurton.
Good evening. My name is John Gurton. I've been the Ward 5 representative for the Marshall City Council for a little over a year now. The reason I'm running for the at-large seat for this election is because I have a heart to serve people. As a pastor, I have a calling on my life to serve. So when I was offered the opportunity to be on the City Council, I saw it as an extension of this calling. I was honored to be asked to join the council, and I was even more honored when Kathy Miller asked me to run for her seat in light of her retirement from the position. Since my time on council, my favorite moments have been when I get the privilege to be face-to-face with someone and serve their needs. I've had the opportunity to speak at the Kalamazoo River cleanup. I was the main speaker and led music for baccalaureate for the graduating class of 2016. And I most recently spoke at the dedication of the pavilion at Brooks Nature Area. I was also able to bring something new to downtown this summer, which Jack mentioned, with the help of our small business owners. We started the Street Performers series and had many different artists perform outside of the stores in an effort to bring people downtown on Thursday nights. In my opinion, I think it was a hit, and I personally got to be involved by choosing the artists, and I was also able to perform as a musician. I make it my mission as a council member to not just make a decision, but to be informed about the decisions I make on behalf of this community. That is why I have met with city employees, residents, and more in an effort to know how I might serve this community best. I've lived here for almost 32 years, and now as a man with a young family, my wife Angela, my 2.5-year-old daughter Evie, and our 1-month-old Everett. I want to bring things to Marshall that will not only be a draw for new families, but will also keep families thriving in our city. I try to bring new and innovative ideas to our meetings and to the community. When I bring an idea, I always follow up with it to make sure it can be accomplished. I love seeing things like the Sherman Park and Roma Site Parks that are happening here in Marshall, and I will be an advocate for more possibilities for young families to flourish. I've always truly appreciated what Marshall has to offer, and I see so much potential in what could still be out there for all of us. I can't thank you all enough for those of you who have supported me over the past year, and I look forward to your continued support as I strive to be able to serve this great city as the at-large representative for the City Council. Thank you.
Next, for Marshall City Council Member at Large, Dr. Harry Marshall.
Greetings, hello. I'm Dr. Harry Marshall. I'm a small business owner here in the city. I own a counseling practice. I'm a graduate of Western Michigan University and the University of Tennessee. I'm also a Vietnam veteran. What I try to focus on is what I see are main issues that are affecting our city, one of which is the State Farm building on East Drive. That is in my neighborhood. The building is home to some crime in the area. I don't know if any of you know that, but there's some shenanigans that go on at night in the back of it. What I would like to see happen in that building is for it to be converted into a senior services center. I think that they have a lot of excellent meeting rooms there. The seniors could go there and meet. They have a great cafeteria. They could have low-cost meals. If we don't move forward to preserve that building, I think it needs to be demolished. It's a sore area for our neighborhood, and it's really a threat to some of the neighbors around there. Another thing I'd like to see happen is for our downtown area to get it revitalized like it was in the old days. I'd like to see men and women's clothing shops there, maybe some shoe shops there. I'd also like to see us have some more specialty stores come in. For instance, the Frame Center and the Knife Center brings people in from other cities and other states. And I would like to see that happen in our downtown, where we could draw in some millennials and perhaps increase our economy in the downtown area. I think we have a very viable city. I think we're more viable than some of the cities that surround us, such as Albion or even Battle Creek. In Battle Creek, you can walk down the main drag and see empty buildings. You can go to the mall and see empty buildings. You don't see that much in Marshall, and I think if we can bring in some other businesses here, we could really get our city thriving. Another thing I'd like to do is our streets. Our roads are in poor condition. I'd like to see us improve our infrastructure, because improving the infrastructure makes the city strong. We have an excellent school system. It's one of the best school systems in Calhoun County. We in Marshall pay the highest property tax in the county, and I don't know why some of that money couldn't go into fixing the streets.
Thank you. We're done with time.
Marshall for Marshall.
And our final candidate this evening, Lisa McNiff, for Marshall City Council Member at Large.
Good evening. I'm Lisa McNiff. I've lived in Marshall since 1995. I came here primarily to practice law with the firm of Schrader DeGraw. And while my main focus has been on family law, I also have been practicing in the area of municipal law for a long time. I represent several of the local townships. And what I bring to this is my knowledge of planning and zoning. I've helped townships with their zoning ordinances. I've sat on the Marshall Planning Commission for the last 2 years and was able to assist in making the recommendation to City Council for a heavily revised plan or zoning ordinance, which took a lot of time, a lot of thought, and we primarily had an eye towards some of the issues that have been outlined here tonight, such as dealing with not having enough elderly housing, not having enough housing for our young adults, not having the kinds of jobs that we need to keep our young adults here so that they'll continue to raise their families and stay in Marshall. I would like to continue my work on the Planning Commission with City Council to further those goals and to hopefully realize those goals. So make Marshall magnificent.
That concludes the list of candidates for this section. Would you please join me in giving a round of applause for all of the candidates this evening? Having your name on a ballot is not a decision anyone makes lightly, so thank you to all of you for your willingness to serve your community and to stand in front of your community and ask them for your support.